Hey guys, I figured I'd just do a walk around of the 78 Lincoln Continental I picked up a few weeks ago. I did a cold start on it, and it's just been kind of plugging along on some small stuff. I just did a light shampoo of the carpets and just kind of cleaning it out. And I figured I'd go over the vehicle specifics, my purchase price, and all the sort of details that I ran into on finding this vehicle, and plans for it, what it needs, that sort of thing. So again, it's a 78 Lincoln Continental four-door sedan. Has the optional 460 engine. It's got about 117,000 miles on it. It was originally out of Nebraska. I've got the Marti Report as well as the original dealer invoice, which I could show you and kind of go over some of that stuff. But mechanically, it's pretty sound shape. It was driven out here 1,100 miles in the dead of winter. I'm in southeast Idaho. It came from Fargo, North Dakota, and I mean, it held up pretty solidly. It definitely needs a little bit of work here and there, and I figured I'd go over that sort of stuff with you, and then kind of just go from there. So again, it has 117,000 miles. Start here in the engine bay. It's got the 460 again. Had a power steering leak. Has the original carburetor, which I plan on swapping out with an Edelbrock 1406, which I think is about 650 CFM. We're a non-emission, non-smog state. When I got the vehicle, the air pump was seized up on it, so I essentially removed that, and I plugged the EGR stuff. And then once I get the new Edelbrock, I think it'll be a little bit smoother, and I can remove the rest of it for the most part. But other than that, mechanically, I added the 100 amp Motorcraft alternator to it, and changed out some heater hoses and that sort of thing. It's got some valve cover leaks, which I plan on swapping out. I did notice the oil is it's pitch black in this thing for the most part. Even after doing an oil and filter change on it, it's still pretty dark. So I'll probably know more once I crack into those valve covers to see what kind of carbon buildup is there. And it's got a leak from the drain plug. It looks like at one point or another the drain pan, the oil pan itself, was dented in and increased itself, so it's got a minor leak there. But I mean, I can show you basically. Well, here, I'll show you the leak she left before I pulled her up here to. I mean, she's dark, so, and that's fresh oil. So, not super stoked on what I'll find inside those covers. But anyways, like I mentioned, I went through and vacuumed and shampooed the interior, and got the trunk as well as best I could. Give you a little. The interior is in really great shape overall. No major tears in the carpet or the interior seats itself. The seat belts definitely get caught up, and there's some sort of corrosion and stuff like that on some of the belt buckles. It's missing one of the buttons here, but the main thing, obviously, there was some mice in here, clearly. Found some of the nesting under this seat, vacuumed it all out, and got rid of all of that and sort of sanitized everything. At some point I'll get the headliner done for sure. But overall, all the trim pieces, everything's there. It's in really great shape interior wise. The panels, dash panels, all good. It's missing one of the pieces there on the switches. Radio is in op. The 8-track seems to want to work. When I push the 8-track tape in, it spins, but there's no sound coming out from the radio. The clock is up as well. You plug it in and it sounds like the gears are trying to spin. I'll probably take that out at some point and clean it up and see if I can get it working again. But yeah, so the engine's running good. It's strong, it's smooth. AC does not work. Power steering had a minor leak, so I changed some of the hoses and that fixed that. But everything else is in pretty decent shape. Windshield washer motor does not work either. It's got the classic vacuum leak, I think in the headlight switch itself, which is it's got the auto dimming lights. So, that switch itself is pretty pricey, so I can deal with the lights coming up after about 10-15 minutes or so. But let's go over sort of the specifics of the vehicle itself off the Marti Report. Again, this car I got came out of North Dakota. This seller I bought it from, purchased it from a gentleman who got it out of a storage unit years back, and it spent its majority of its time in storage from the late 80s, apparently. But it's a 78. It's got this 7.5 liter 460. It's the last year this was offered in this vehicle. It has the light gold moon dust metallic paint with the cream Velino full vinyl roof. It's got the gold velour lounge seats. It's got an interesting 2.75 traction lock rear axle, which is nice around here, especially in the winter. Not that I plan on driving it in the winter, but it's got, I imagine it's their version of a limited slip, with the C6 auto trans and the air conditioning. And this was out of Omaha, Nebraska dealer. And the stats on this vehicle looks like 1,206 were made with this paint code and 582 with the paint and trim code options. And I went ahead and they had the dealer invoice, so I figured this would be a great thing to have with the vehicle. And so let's see, the suggested retail price with the Continental 4-door sedan, so it has the optional paint, the moon dust paint. It's got, let's see, it's got the upgraded 460 option, the custom paint stripes, the leather delete. You got a $200 credit if you wanted to go with the velour seats, it looks like. The traction lock diff, illuminated entry system, the headlamp convenience group, defroster group, tilt steering wheel, speed control. A big bump in price if you wanted the Quadrasonic 8-track tape with a $373 upgrade. Interval windshield wipers. The town car option, I'm a little unclear what that included. That was $1,440. Has the appearance protection group, which I imagine are the moldings on the doors. The door jambs. Has the remote control mirror, interior light group, the power locks, which are also in-op on this vehicle, and the premium body side moldings. So the total options for the MSRP suggested retail price were an additional $3,267. Looks like the dealer paid $2,515.34. So suggested base model was $10,166. The dealer paid about $7,800. So when it was all said and done, the suggested retail price was $13,750. Dealer paid $10,663.34, or $10,750. So basically, their selling price, they tried to make about $3,000 or something like that. And again, this was at Metropolitan Lincoln Mercury Inc. in Omaha, Nebraska. So it was built in, let's see, October of 77. Looks like it was sold just after Christmas, so it was on there for 90 days or so. And those are the specs on the vehicle itself. So let's go around and kind of show you what I plan on doing, I'm not looking for a show vehicle. This is not going to be taken to car shows, that sort of thing. I plan on driving it pretty regularly in the warmer months, and it's not going to be a frame-off restoration piece or anything like that. I do work in the restoration industry. We deal mainly with the classic trucks and that sort of thing. I am not a mechanic or a body guy. I deal with all the boring stuff, the paperwork, client relations, and that sort of thing. So this is something I just plan on doing for fun on the side. I wanted something that wasn't going to be a major project or a hassle or anything like that. And it came with its quirks and that sort of thing, like any older vehicle would, but it's all hopefully fairly straightforward stuff for me. So right off the bat, what I'm noticing here is when it was pulled out of storage unit, it was non-running. It had the steering gear was gone. The hydro boost was leaking like crazy, and I think what happened is they lifted it on some sort of dolly or something, and they lifted it from here, cracked that one, and then also I noticed, this one's got a nice little homemade. They cracked that one as well, but they fit it with a license plate of some sort here. So I've got to get some of the cornering lamps. Will definitely be on the list for sure. Looks like this was tweaked as well. I noticed when I was under there, they got some washers and whatnot. This side was definitely repainted at some stage. So this is originally a farmer's vehicle out of Nebraska, and so it had its bumps and bruises and that sort of thing. And again, it wasn't a deal breaker for me. I should be clear. I paid $5,000 for this. So, I didn't visit it sight unseen, went through a video, some pictures, talked with the seller, sort of got a pretty good overview of what it was and what it wasn't, and he was pretty straightforward with everything. And generally, if I buy a vehicle sight unseen, I like to have a full inspection done. But so that included the delivery. So $5,000 delivered, 1,100 miles. It was driven out here. And I was okay with that. And there were some surprises, but I expected that. And I felt okay with everything, the light mechanical and body it needed. So, there's some paint chips and that sort of thing. The cornering lamps were one thing that was noted. It's got pretty decent tires on it. Just walked in here. Close all the doors here. Another thing I did add when I did the alternator was this kill switch. So I know that there can be some hazardous fires that go with these things, especially with the window switches and the door switches and that sort of thing. So I figured adding that was a good little safety measure when it's here in storage. Interesting that the door key on this thing, the door key works for the trunk, but at some point the lock cylinders and the doors were swapped out. So not sure when or why. I imagine maybe out of storage. They didn't have the key for it or something, and they swapped out the cylinders. But body-wise, it's in really good shape, except for when we get down here. Okay, so we got a lot of this, that's surface. It's not rotted through or anything like that. So that is something I will take care of. I'll scuff that all up, clean it all up, and have it repainted with the factory color. And it's like that on the other side as well. So here's the trunk space. Clean the carpet here. It was a little bit wet back here for sure. One thing I did note was it's got the little Schrader valve. So these rear shocks are adjustable. You can add air, remove air depending on the load that you're carrying. That was a cool little feature I wasn't expecting, and I don't think the previous owner knew about. So this side's not as bad, but again, should be able to clean that up pretty easy. The antenna works, all that good stuff. And I need to get, so there's an insert for the ashtray missing here. These work. That side is also missing the ashtray. Interior's really clean though. overall. I did replace all door strikers on this thing because they were missing all the bushings. All of them pop open really nicely now, except for that side still sticks a little bit, and I think I got to sand down the bushing on it. Again, it's the driver's side here. The gold velour seats. That's the headlamp convenience package there. And that's just my Bluetooth speaker there. So, yeah, as you can see here, that's more of the mice holes. Again, little paint chips here and there, but nothing major. It's really clean overall. I'm happy with the way it looks. So again, I feel like it was a pretty good buy. I know a lot of people, you hear a lot of the stories. Oh, it's, I picked this thing up for $800, and she gave me her granddaughter's phone number on top of it, and this is not one of those deals. This was driven pretty regularly. I feel like I paid a fair price for it. It needs some work. I didn't steal it. I don't think I got ripped off or anything like that. It's just something that I've always wanted one of these. I like the land yachts, and I'm happy with what I got here. So, that being said, we can fire her up. Take this out of the way here. Put this here. I mentioned I like the land yacht, so this would be my daily cruiser in the summer, and I've also got a fuel injected 460. It's an 89 Airstream. Maybe I'll do a walk around to that some other time, but that's our weekend getaway car. And my 5-year-old daughter calls this one, said it looked like a treasure box. So she likes to be driven to school in this thing now. So, all right. Well, what I'll need to do is get this switch turned back. Okay. So now we get power back in the vehicle. Changed some light bulbs. There were some, I think that one was out, and then the rear opera lights were out, so I swapped the light bulbs and stuff. And that's the major one right there. So that's something I will do is definitely do the headliner in this thing for sure. And there you go. There's the 117.522. I did swap out. It had a minor leak in the fuel tank, so I put some tank weld on that by JB Weld, and I plan on doing a new tank with some braided line once I do the carburetor and that sort of thing and get her up and running. But let's see how she does. So another thing I gotta find here too. Here, let me close this thing. It's the work. So this thing's a little loose here, and sometimes it turns all the way off, sometimes it only goes on low. AC does not work either. I think I mentioned that, so I'd like to get that up and going at some point. I'd like to get a radio that's operable. I know it's sacrilegious to get rid of the 8-track. I may end up just doing a retro sound, sort of factory look that has a Bluetooth option with it. The cruise control works on this thing, which is very nice. Let it idle down here for a second. Lights come down. As you can see, there's some paint chips here and there, and she runs pretty smooth. One thing I did forget to mention is I went to go ahead and adjust the carb. It came from, you know, Fargo, which is probably about 1,000 feet. We're at about 6,500 feet, so there was definitely some carburetor adjustment, idle adjustment here. And I wanted to check the timing as well, but distributor is frozen to that block, so I've got it sitting in some penetrant, and once the warmer weather comes around, I'm just going to keep kind of lubing it up here and there, and hopefully it frees up. It was at like 27 degrees advanced, which is pretty advanced, which, you know, at this elevation you probably want it more advanced than anything, but you know, to really get it dialed in, especially when we swap that carb out, I'd like to get it to the point where it's supposed to be, you know. So anyways, this is the 78 Lincoln Continental, and if you have any questions or whatever, I plan on maybe doing some more videos as I make repairs. I'll remove the exhaust. I'm just going to get rid of the cats on it. The cats are non-existent. They're not doing anything now anyway. So add exhaust. It's got some exhaust leaks and that sort of thing. I'll probably just keep it simple, do a nice quiet single exhaust. Give you one more walk around here while we yeah, I'd like to get one of the emblems put back in there. Add it to the list. Anywho, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.